The wind whispers through the bamboo forest. A lone figure kneels, eyes closed, katana resting beside him. Silence stretches, heavy yet alive. In this stillness, the mind trembles. Fear arises, not from the world outside, but from the chaos within. Long ago, warriors walked a path that demanded more than strength of body. They mastered the storms of the spirit. They understood that true power is born in quiet moments, not in the clash of swords. Discipline was their foundation, presence their weapon, fear a teacher. In the shadow of mountains, a young samurai named Hiroshi seeks guidance. His heart is restless, his spirit impatient. He believes mastery is measured in victory over others. But the mentor knows the truth. Mastery begins in conquering oneself. Tonight, Hiroshi will learn what ancient warriors have always known, that silence is not emptiness, but the crucible in which the soul is forged. That courage is not the absence of fear, but the conscious choice to stand still when all urges to run. Follow his journey, step by step, as he confronts ego, embraces discipline, and walks the path of transformation. Here, in this tale of shadow and light, you will discover what it truly means to be a warrior, not of the world, but of the spirit. The mountain air was thin, crisp, and carried the scent of pine resin and wet stone. Hiroshi's footsteps crunched against the gravel path leading to the temple. Each step felt heavy, yet urgent, as if the mountain itself demanded he hurry, though he did not yet understand why. In the valley below, clouds moved slowly, curling around peaks like restless spirits. The temple stood like a silent sentinel. Its wood was darkened with age, its tiles muted under a thin layer of frost. Hiroshi paused at the entrance, feeling the weight of the place settle over him. He had journeyed far, carrying ambition and impatience like hidden weapons beneath his robes. His mind buzzed with expectations, to learn, to grow, to master. Yet the mentor waited, motionless, a presence that seemed to bend the air itself. The aged warrior's eyes were pools of quiet authority. They held Hiroshi's gaze for a long moment, not with challenge, but with a patient inquiry that pierced deeper than any sword. Then, without a word, the mentor gestured to the tatami mat in the meditation hall. Hiroshi lowered himself onto the straw mat, folding his legs beneath him. A silence settled, dense, almost tangible. Minutes passed. The mountain whispered. The wind nudged through the bamboo grove outside, brushing the temple walls with a soft susurration. Hiroshi's mind roared. Thoughts of victory, recognition, fear of failure, they collided, relentless and unyielding. He shifted. The mentor's gaze did not waver. "Sit," the mentor said finally. "Do not move, do not speak, observe." Hiroshi exhaled, tension coiling like steel in his chest. At first, every instinct screamed for action, motion, words, distraction. His hands itched to grasp his sword, to leave, to prove himself, but he stayed. He forced his breath into rhythm. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Slowly, a strange awareness emerged. The faint rustle of leaves became a chorus. Each exhalation echoed the life pulsing within him. Fear surfaced, not fear of enemies, but fear of himself. His mind had always been a battlefield, yet now it was magnified. Thoughts of inadequacy, shame, and desire surged like tides against a cliff. The mentor's presence was a mirror, still unmoving yet undeniably alive. Hiroshi began to notice tremors in his own body, subtle shifts of anxiety and tension. Each breath revealed a hidden knot of resistance. The lesson was subtle. Discipline is not action alone. It is the courage to remain present with discomfort, to endure what the mind resists. Strength was not in striking first or loudly asserting oneself. It was in the patient endurance of the self. Hours passed, or perhaps only minutes. Time was fluid here. Hiroshi's awareness sharpened. He felt the rhythm of his own heartbeat, the cold press of the tatami beneath his legs, the distant caw of a crow riding the wind. Presence became a tool, a lens through which fear could be seen, named and held without panic. And in that fragile stillness, the first seed of understanding took root. Mastery begins not in the clashing of swords or the conquest of others, but in the silent observation of one's own spirit. Hiroshi's eyes opened slowly. He was not free of fear, far from it, but he was no longer its prisoner. He exhaled, and in the long breath, a single truth whispered through him. The path begins in silence. The silence had shown Hiroshi his inner storms, yet deeper shadows waited, the ego and fear that would. Night fell, and the temple became a vessel of shadow and wind. The pale moonlight spilled through paper windows, casting fragile patterns across the tatami. Hiroshi remained seated, though his body ached and his mind wrestled with restlessness. Every nerve felt exposed, each thought amplified. Yet he stayed, as the mentor had silently demanded. The wind carried more than sound, it brought presence. The rustle of leaves, the distant drip of melting frost, even the faint hum of insects settling for the night, all became threads in a living tapestry he had previously ignored. Hiroshi realized that the world outside was neither hostile nor indulgent. It simply existed, and he had the choice to engage or resist. His first lesson in stillness was revealing its deeper meaning. To endure without avoidance is to cultivate clarity. To observe without judgment is to claim power over the self. Hiroshi's thoughts wandered to ambition. He had imagined mastery as a series of victories, each more dramatic than the last. Yet here in quiet endurance, he glimpsed a paradox. Strength does not announce itself. It does not demand attention. It grows quietly, imperceptibly, like roots burrowing through stone. The mentor's silent presence became a guidepost, showing without instructing, teaching without speaking. Pains surfaced next, aches in his legs, a tension in his shoulders, the gnaw of fatigue. But Hiroshi learned to observe without fleeing. Each sensation became a teacher. The body, like the mind, revealed truth if one only paid attention. He noticed his ego surfacing in fleeting arrogance. I can endure more than others. I am stronger. Yet the breath reminded him that observation, not assertion, was the measure of real strength. Hours bled into a rhythm of consciousness. Hiroshi's mind, once a storm of doubt and desire, began to quiet. He noticed the small details, the way his breath warmed the chill air, the subtle tremor in the walls from distant mountain winds, the resonance of silence itself. Each observation anchored him in the present, dissolving the false urgency that had driven him thus far. Fear, when observed rather than denied, lost its power. The mentor finally spoke, his voice low and measured, cutting through the stillness like a bell. Do not seek to escape your mind. Sit with it, face it. In the storm, you will find your path. Hiroshi absorbed the words, feeling the truth like fire in his chest. Discipline was no longer a concept, it was a lived experience. Fear was no longer a threat, it was a guide. Presence was no longer an idea, it was the quiet ground beneath his awareness. By the first light of dawn, Hiroshi's gaze had shifted. He was the same in form, but something within had changed. Patience, endurance, and observation had begun to shape him. The young warrior understood that the first step on the path of mastery was not action. It was stillness. He rose, legs stiff but spirit steadier, and looked to the mentor. No words were needed. The silent acknowledgement passed between them. The journey had begun, but the deeper lessons of fear and ego still awaited. The path of presence was open, and Hiroshi knew that the next trial would demand courage far beyond endurance alone. The silence had unveiled the storms within, yet the shadows of ego and fear lingered, ready to challenge his resolve. The journey into the warrior's mind had only just begun. The silence of the temple had grown familiar to Hiroshi, yet it no longer brought comfort. It revealed the hidden terrain of his own mind. Each morning, the pale light filtered through the paper windows, illuminating dust motes that danced like spirits in the still air. The quiet was no longer neutral. It was a mirror reflecting every suppressed thought, every lingering doubt, every ember of anger he had carried for years. The mentor appeared at dawn, moving with the deliberate grace of one who had lived a lifetime in slow motion. "Today," he said, voice low and calm, "you will confront what you hide. Not in the world, but in yourself." Hiroshi's first task was simple, yet deceptively difficult. Kata performed with absolute focus. Each motion, each swing of the wooden practice sword had to be executed with awareness of every muscle, every breath. The rhythm was deliberate, almost excruciatingly slow. The young warrior's mind resisted. Impatience and frustration rose like wildfire. Yet the mentor's gaze remained unbroken, a constant reminder that the lesson was not in speed or precision, but in the act of observing, of being present. As hours passed, Hiroshi noticed his emotions surface in unexpected ways. Anger, once buried beneath pride, flared in response to minor mistakes. Envy whispered when he observed the mentor's effortless control. Doubt gnawed at his confidence, a silent predator. Each movement of the sword became a dialogue between action and awareness. The paradox revealed itself. Control emerged only when he surrendered the illusion of control. The more he clung to outcomes, the more clumsy and rigid his body became. The more he let go, the smoother and more powerful each motion became. The mentor spoke rarely, yet when he did, it struck like a bell through fog. Your ego is your fiercest opponent. Do not fight it with force. Observe it, understand it. Only then will mastery begin. Hiroshi felt the truth in his bones. Fear was no longer something to push aside. It was a teacher, a mirror reflecting unresolved conflicts within. The shadow he had avoided all his life, the jealousy of those more skilled, the arrogance of youth, the resentment toward his own limitations, now stood fully before him. And yet, as he breathed and moved, he realized that acknowledging these shadows did not weaken him, it strengthened him. Awareness, he understood, was the foundation of true power. By mid-afternoon, sweat streaked his face and muscles screamed with fatigue, yet his mind had begun to quiet. He noticed the subtle rhythm of breath, the heartbeat, the micro-adjustments his body made with each step. Each correction, each moment of mindful attention was a lesson. Discipline was no longer mere repetition or physical exertion. It had become the art of observing without reaction, the courage to face fear without fleeing, the willingness to hold one's shadow in the open light. As dusk approached, Hiroshi sank to his knees, exhausted but alive. The stillness he had once sought as refuge now felt like the very forge of transformation. He had glimpsed the edge of a deeper wisdom, that confronting the self, with all its darkness and desire, was far more demanding than any duel or battle. The next step awaited, the path of presence, where awareness would become a living force guiding body and mind as one. Night fell over the temple, and with it came a weight that was both oppressive and illuminating. The mountains outside were cloaked in mist, and the wind carried the faint scent of pine and frost. Hiroshi sat cross-legged in the meditation hall, the wooden practice sword resting beside him, his body weary yet alert. Every fiber of his being seemed to hum with awareness, as if the hours of disciplined movement had tuned him to the subtle vibrations of the world around him. The mentor entered silently, his footsteps barely disturbing the tatami. He placed a hand on Hiroshi's shoulder, a gesture of grounding rather than comfort. "Now," he said softly, "the real test begins. You have seen your shadow, you have felt it, but can you sit with it without flinching, without seeking escape?" Hiroshi inhaled deeply, letting the cold night air fill his lungs, and exhaled slowly. Fear rose again, but it was no longer an enemy to strike or flee from. It was a signal, a guidepost pointing to unresolved corners of his mind. He remembered the lessons of the day, the paradox of control, the strength in observation, the power in patience. He closed his eyes and turned inward, facing the storm within without judgment. Memories surfaced unbidden, moments of failure, of envy, of prideful arrogance. Each one was a thread in the tapestry of his ego. He did not fight them. He did not suppress them. Instead, he named them silently, acknowledged their presence, and returned to his breath. In doing so, he discovered a strange liberation. That shadows hold no power when met with conscious attention. The ego, once a tyrant, became a teacher. The mentor's voice cut through the silence again. Discipline is not the body alone, Hiroshi. It is the courage to look, to endure, to learn from what you fear most. Only then does mastery arise. Ours blended into one another. Hiroshi's movements, once rigid and reactive, had become fluid, almost effortless. Each kata flowed from awareness, not from desire or fear. The practice sword felt like an extension of his own body. Every strike a reflection of the mind's calm clarity. The shadow within no longer provoked panic. It guided precision. He realized that mastery is born not from conquering others, but from meeting oneself fully, embracing limitation, and transforming resistance into skill. By dawn, Hiroshi felt a subtle shift. His body carried fatigue, yes, but his mind was steadier, more present. The shadows of ego and fear had not vanished, but they no longer controlled him. He could move through the world with awareness as his ally, observing without reacting, acting without attachment. He rose, facing the mentor with a quiet determination that had not been there before. The path was far from complete, yet a foundation had been laid, a foundation built on discipline, courage, and intimate acquaintance with the self. Tomorrow, Hiroshi would step onto the path of presence, where awareness becomes action and stillness transforms into living mastery. The confrontation with fear and ego had opened the door. Now, Hiroshi would learn to inhabit the present fully, letting awareness guide every motion, every decision, every breath. Morning light spilled across the temple courtyard, soft and golden, illuminating frost-tipped stones and the delicate sway of bamboo. Hiroshi walked slowly, deliberately, feeling the cool weight of the air against his skin. Every step was measured, every breath acknowledged. The silence of the past days had begun to weave itself into his very being, transforming his restless energy into attentive stillness. The mentor observed him from the veranda, a calm figure etched against the rising sun. Presence, he said, voice low and deliberate, is not stillness alone. It is the conscious inhabiting of this moment. Each breath, each motion, each thought. Only when you move fully in awareness does the spirit become steady and the body capable. Hiroshi nodded, though he understood that words were shadows of understanding. He bowed and stepped into the courtyard, wooden sword in hand. The morning air carried the faint scent of pine, and a chill lingered in the veins of the mountain. With the mentor watching, he began the kata again, slow, deliberate, mindful. But today, there was no strain to force perfection, no expectation of judgment. Each movement flowed from observation, from a profound attentiveness to the present moment. As he moved, Hiroshi felt the paradox the mentor had hinted at. The more he surrendered the idea of controlling the flow, the more precise and powerful each motion became. Breath synchronized with movement. Eyes saw without grasping. Muscles acted without tension. The sword became an extension of his awareness, not a tool of assertion. Fear no longer lurked in shadow. It existed simply as information, a signal to stay conscious and steady. Hours passed, but Hiroshi did not count them. Time had little meaning here. Instead, he noticed the subtlest details, the friction of his feet against stone, the tension release in his shoulders with each cut, the whisper of wind through bamboo leaves. Awareness had become not an act, but a living state, saturating mind, body, and environment. The mentor approached, placing a hand lightly on Hiroshi's shoulder. True mastery, he said, does not reside in strength or technique alone. It lives in the alignment of thought, action, and presence. When the mind is anchored in the moment, the spirit is free to act without hesitation, without fear, without ego. Hiroshi's chest rose and fell with measured breaths. For the first time, the lessons of silence and shadow converged. Discipline had shaped him. Confrontation with fear had tempered him. Now, presence was the bridge transforming internal mastery into living action. Every swing of the sword, every shift of weight, every glance at the world was an exercise in attentive being. A crow called from the bamboo grove, its cry crisp and resonant. Hiroshi inhaled deeply and let it pass without reaction. He began to perceive the interconnectedness of all things, the sound, the motion, the breath, as threads in the living fabric of the moment. His mind, once scattered and reactive, was now like water flowing smoothly around obstacles, responsive but ungrasping. As the sun climbed higher, Hiroshi lowered the sword and stood still, feeling the pulse of the earth beneath his feet. He understood viscerally that presence was not passive. It was active, intentional, and transformative. The path of awareness had become a living guide, shaping his every thought and motion. The next stage awaited, the integration of presence into the full scope of life, where mastery moves beyond the temple and into every encounter. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the temple courtyard, stretching the bamboo into dark, fluid lines. Hiroshi stood at the center, wooden sword in hand, yet he felt a shift deep within. His body no longer acted out of instruction or obligation, but from the living rhythm of presence itself. Each motion was deliberate, yet effortless. Each breath was an anchor, each glance a thread tying him to the now. The mentor approached quietly, the soft rustle of his robes blending with the whispering wind. "The world will never wait for your readiness," he said. "Presence is not a refuge, it is action. The mind must move with clarity, even in chaos. The spirit must remain still, even in motion." Hiroshi's mind recalled the days of silence, the long hours spent observing fear and ego. Now the lessons converged. Fear no longer prompted retreat. Ego no longer demanded assertion. He moved through the kata with awareness saturating every cell, feeling the balance between effort and surrender. The wooden sword became more than a tool. It was an extension of attention, a vessel through which inner stillness flowed into deliberate action. He observed the smallest details, the friction of tatami underfoot, the whisper of wind through the bamboo, the subtle tremor of his own heartbeat. Each micro-movement, each imperfection became a teacher. He realized that the practice of presence was an active discipline. To notice, to adjust, to harmonize with the moment without clinging to expectation. Hours later, the mentor guided him through an unexpected exercise. The courtyard had been prepared with obstacles, stones, uneven terrain, and fallen branches. Hiroshi was instructed to navigate this terrain while maintaining kata, breath, and awareness. At first, his body resisted. He stumbled, misjudged, faltered. Frustration rose like a tidal wave, yet the mentor's presence remained unwavering, a calm current beneath the chaos. Slowly, Hiroshi adapted. Each misstep became a lesson, each hesitation a signal to observe rather than react. The mind, once chaotic and reactive, had become fluid, able to accommodate imperfection without losing composure. Presence was no longer a passive state. It was an integrated force, shaping thought, movement, and perception simultaneously. By sunset, Hiroshi paused at the edge of the courtyard, eyes scanning the horizon. The mountains, once distant and imposing, now felt intimate, alive with the subtle movements of wind, shadow, and light. He realized that presence, when cultivated deeply, allows the spirit to navigate life as if in perpetual harmony with the moment, responding with clarity, acting with precision, yet remaining unbound by fear or ego. The mentor's voice, quiet yet commanding, cut through the dusk. Remember this, Hiroshi. Mastery is not in the outcome, but in how fully you inhabit the path. Presence is the bridge between discipline and freedom, between effort and grace. Hiroshi lowered the sword and exhaled, feeling the pulse of earth, wind, and self aligned. The lessons of silence, shadow, and now presence converged into a living wisdom. His transformation was not complete, but the foundation had been forged. Awareness as action, stillness as power, discipline as freedom. The final trial awaited. To step beyond the temple, where mastery would be tested in the unpredictable currents of the world, and true strength would reveal itself in integration, not isolation. The first light of dawn brushed the mountains in pale gold, illuminating the temple's courtyard and the mist that clung to the pines. Hiroshi stood at the edge, wooden sword in hand, yet he felt a profound shift in the rhythm of his body and mind. No longer was he practicing for perfection, nor to impress a mentor. He was moving from presence itself, letting awareness dictate motion, letting discipline shape intention. The mentor approached silently, his face serene, eyes like polished obsidian, reflecting years of inner battle. "Today," he said, "you leave the controlled space. The world will test your balance, your presence, your mastery. Do not seek to conquer it. Seek only to act with clarity, grounded in your mind and body." Hiroshi's chest rose and fell with measured breaths. He recalled the long hours of silence, the confrontation with fear and ego, and the delicate practice of presence. All lessons converged now. He understood. Mastery was not a final state. It was an ongoing conversation between the self and the world, a flowing integration of awareness, action, and reflection. The mentor guided him down the temple path toward the nearby village, where an unexpected trial awaited. Word had come of a sudden disturbance. A fire had broken out in a small cluster of homes. The villagers panicked, rushing in every direction, chaos thick in the air. Hiroshi's heart raced, not with fear, but with alertness honed over days of discipline. He inhaled deeply, centering himself. Presence dictated clarity. Ego, ambition, and hesitation had no place here. Every motion, his steps, his gestures, his commands, flowed from mindful observation. He assessed the environment. Flames licking at rooftops, smoke drifting, villagers frozen or fleeing. Awareness guided him, and action followed without thought, without attachment. Hiroshi moved among the villagers with a fluidity that surprised even him. He guided children away from danger, helped carry water, and coordinated the response. Not with authority, but with a presence that commanded instinctive trust. Each decision, each motion, was a reflection of the inner stillness he had cultivated. He was not reacting blindly. He was engaged fully, in perfect alignment with circumstance. The fire crackled, yet Hiroshi remained calm. The mentor watched from a distance, a quiet smile forming beneath his stoic exterior. He knew that this moment was the ultimate test of integration. All the lessons of discipline, shadow, and presence converged here. Hiroshi's mastery would be revealed not through domination, but through harmony, acting with purpose, yet unbound by ego or fear. By midday, the fire was controlled, the villagers safe, and the immediate danger mitigated. Hiroshi stood in the courtyard, sweat and soot marking his robes, yet a profound serenity resting in his posture. He realized something fundamental. Mastery is not about perfection or recognition. It is about the ability to navigate life's unpredictable currents with awareness, composure, and aligned action. The final realization awaited that true warrior spirit emerges not from victory, but from integration, where inner stillness meets external challenge and discipline transforms into effortless living power. The village settled into a cautious quiet as smoke drifted toward the mountains. Hiroshi stood at the center of the courtyard, chest rising and falling, eyes scanning the horizon. The fire was contained, yet his mind remained alert. Not restless, but fully present. Each breath was deliberate, each movement conscious. The lessons of the temple, the stillness, the confrontation with fear, the cultivation of presence, all converged in this moment of living mastery. The mentor approached, his gait slow and deliberate. "You have seen the fire," he said, "you have faced chaos. Yet the true test is not in external events, but in how you carry yourself afterward. Mastery is integration. The warrior is not separate from the world. He moves with it, not against it." Hiroshi exhaled slowly. Feeling the rhythm of his body settle, he recalled the kata, the hours of meditation, the silent observation of shadows within himself. He understood now that each lesson had been preparatory, a scaffolding for this integration. Strength was not the act of controlling others, nor the suppression of fear. It was the disciplined alignment of mind, body, and spirit in every situation. Villagers approached, gratitude and relief visible in their eyes. Hiroshi offered guidance and comfort, not pride or assertion. Presence dictated each word, each gesture. The mentor watched, noting the subtle shift. Hiroshi no longer acted from ego, expectation, or fear. He acted from clarity, awareness, and a steady, disciplined spirit. Later, as the sun dipped behind the mountains, painting the sky in hues of crimson and gold, Hiroshi returned to the temple. He moved deliberately, mindful of every step, aware of each breath. The mentor waited, seated on the veranda, a serene figure observing the young warrior's return. "You have learned much," the mentor said quietly. "Discipline, fear, presence, they are no longer abstract concepts. They are living forces within you. Yet remember, mastery is not a destination. It is a continual practice. The world will always test you. The storms will return, but if you remain present, aligned and aware, your spirit will remain unshaken." Hiroshi bowed deeply, understanding that the journey was ongoing. Mastery was not a trophy to be won, nor a final form to be achieved. It was the integration of lessons into living action, the translation of stillness into motion, shadow into understanding, discipline into freedom. He felt a profound peace, not from the absence of challenge, but from the presence of mastery within himself. That night, Hiroshi sat beneath the stars, the mountains breathing around him. The silence was no longer daunting. It was a companion, a mirror, a teacher. He realized that every step on the path, from silence to shadow, presence to motion, had been part of a singular truth. True warrior spirit emerges when one is fully integrated, when inner stillness meets the unpredictability of life and discipline transforms into living, effortless power. Hiroshi had become more than a student of the temple. He had become a warrior of the spirit, guided by presence, strengthened by discipline, and awakened to the harmony of self and world. Mastery is born not from conquest over others, but from disciplined courage to confront the self, cultivate presence, and act with awareness in every moment.